This is the all-new Mazda CX-50. First, we're going to check out all the features, and then we're taking it on an adventure. That's coming up right now on Driving Sports TV. Though this vehicle may resemble Mazda's other crossover, the CX-5, the CX-50 is actually quite different. You see, it's 3 inches wider and 6 inches longer than the CX-5. It also has more ground clearance. The CX-50 has up to 8.6 inches. The trim we're testing today is the loaded Premium Plus with all-wheel drive. Prices you see it here, $43,170 US, including destination. Under the hood is a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine with a twin-scroll turbo. It produces up to 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. It is, of course, connected to a 6-speed automatic transmission, and it powers all 4 wheels through Mazda's all-wheel drive system that is enhanced with a trail mode. The EPA rates this setup at 23 miles to the gallon in the city and 29 on the highway. We're going to have to take it a little easy today when we take this thing off-road because it is wrapped in all-season radials, around 20-inch wheels. Yeah, these are Eagle Touring from Goodyear, and they are a 245/45 R20. In the back, you'll find up to 31.4 cubic feet of total capacity. There's a false floor with a spare tire. Of course, not a full-size spare. You have simple levers to fold down the second row, and with that second row folded, you're looking at up to 56.3 cubic feet of total capacity. But I know what you're asking, can you sleep in this? It's snug, but I fit. So it may not be the ideal camping situation because I do need to go diagonal. I'm 6'1", legs torso proportionate, and I fit just fine at an angle. If I wanted to go straight because of cargo, that would be a little bit more complicated. So this is the second row. Let's try this out. Okay, this is pretty good. I like this panorama sunroof. Now this seat is where I would be sitting if I was driving. I'm 6'1", legs torso proportionate, and I have lots of room here. The tunnel for the transmission is on the large side, so it kind of does impede in the space back here a little bit. I do, however, have 3 levels of heat. I have easily accessible USB-A sockets, and right here I have a fold-down armrest with cup holders. Oh, and my own light. This seat is actually really comfortable. The cushioning right in the back is very soft. I really like this one. There seems to be no way to adjust the tilt though. This is what you get, but it's good. Whew. Finally out of the rain. Let's see what this luxury Mazda has in store for us. I have a lot of familiarity with this interior because this is basically the same design that they have on every single Mazda these days. I have the digital center display with a tack on the left, and I got fuel and temperature on the right. From here, I can modify several things, and I can toggle through different pieces of information. It's kind of a nice, useful, yet very sophisticated look. I do like that. This, however, is not my favorite thing. Mazda's infotainment system is just a little, it's not very intuitive. It requires a lot of clicking. Let's just go home, and then I can toggle through the various options. We have information, entertainment, communication, navigation, and settings. Let's go ahead and start with information. We have a fuel efficiency monitor, although you don't really buy a vehicle like this for its fuel efficiency. I guess it's fuel efficient if you compare it to, say, a 4Runner. Let's go back to home. Entertainment. This is where we can pick between terrestrial radio, XM satellite radio, that kind of stuff. And I do have an ongoing complaint, and though people have told me otherwise, the fact remains I cannot quickly switch between channels. Right now I'm on first wave. I want to go one channel up to 34 to lithium. I can't. Or I can, but it's a multi-step process. I have to click menu, I have to go to channel list, I then have to start at 0, toggle all the way up to 34, and then select it. Now, I've complained about this in the past, and people have said, no, 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 all you have to do is hit right or left on the volume button. That doesn't do what you think it does. If I hit left, what it does is it rewinds the audio. It does replay. It just rewinds the song that's playing right now. And then if I go to the right, it then basically takes me to the end of the replay. It does not change the channels. I find it bizarre that there seems to be no way to do this. If you know how to do it, and don't tell me the volume level toggle does it, because it doesn't, please post a comment below. Because this still baffles me, that you can't just switch a radio station without having to do 20 clicks. The system does support wireless Apple CarPlay, which is a great convenience. This trim does include a wireless charging pad just under the armrest, or you can plug in for wired connectivity if you prefer. The next thing up is navigation, and this does have built-in navigation. Many systems have been improved dramatically lately with the way they use voice commands. Let's try it on this one. Hey Mazda. Oh, right, it doesn't do that. Let's try it again.
Say a command.
Navigate to the nearest Starbucks.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Find Starbucks.
There were multiple results found.
Okay, so you can't use really free text. You have to use their structure, and then it does work. Not my favorite setup. It's just not as flexible as some other systems. Let me give you another example here.
Say a command.
How old is Britney Spears?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
See, it doesn't do the freestyle search, and it doesn't integrate to the web. This system, it just doesn't seem very modern. Going back, settings, we now have option here for the in-vehicle displays. Active driving display, that is the heads up, which is really nice actually. It has a lot of information. They got rid of that little flip up thing. I hated the flip up thing. This one actually projects onto the windshield, and you can adjust it in here, as well as enable and disable features. In the center display, I can adjust contrast and all that kind of stuff, not very exciting. And then on the instrument cluster, I can also choose kind of what information I want to have displayed there. You can also play with the sound in here, the audio settings. This is using the upgraded Bose system. It's okay, it's fine. And then safety. Now this is loaded with Mazda's latest safety tech, and we have everything from adaptive cruise control, which they use a radar for. We also have speed limit sign alert, driver attention alert, and then going down the list, we have more safety alerts, such as rear cross traffic, lane departure, blind spot warning. You can even do pedal misuse. It alerts the driver when the accelerator and brake are pressed at the same time. Not necessary, but okay. One other thing we have on this one is multiple views. So not only do we have a nice backup camera, but that's actually showing the front of the vehicle because it has surround view that can then also be used as a trail camera. We'll try that a little bit later. When I put it into reverse, it gives me a backup view with tracking lines, and that's really nice. So this interior definitely subscribes to the less is more approach, and I actually find it kind of refreshing. I just wish that the nav system and infotainment was a little bit better, more modern, but I think that's my only real complaint. Oh yeah, and the piano black everywhere. This is gonna scratch and look awful very quickly. I say that a lot. So one of the main reasons to get this vehicle over, say, the CX-5 is A, it has more room in the second row, which is important if you have a family and you actually put like teenagers back there. But also, it has more ground clearance. And it also has a trail mode. On MI Drive here, I can toggle between sport, normal, and off-road. And yeah, the CX-5 also has the same modes, but I'm hoping with this one, which is a much newer design with extra ground clearance, that it'll be a little bit more capable. Now, keep in mind also, there will be an even more off-road version of this vehicle. It'll be called the CX-50 Meridian. We will test that later. We don't have access to it yet. Now, in terms of comfort, these seats are really actually quite soft in all the right places. They have nice bolstering on the sides. They are both heated and cooled, which is a nice touch. My steering wheel is also heated as well. Now, as far as adjustments, getting just that right driving position, I got lots of power adjustments on the seat. There's a manual adjustment on the steering wheel, and yeah, it's pretty good. Visibility is decent. That rear C-pillar is a little on the thick side, so it's a little hard to see back there, but that's what the camera systems are for. The 6-speed automatic can be controlled with the paddle shifters. Cup holders are easy to access, and they are rubberized for splashing, which I kind of like. Okay, I think we've looked at all the main features here. I think it's time to take this one for a drive. For our first test, we're going to see how Mazda's all-wheel drive system distributes power front to back in various drive modes. First, the default normal mode. Replaying in slow motion, we can see power first hit the front wheels, then push to the back as the vehicle gets underway. Next, sport mode. The result on gravel is very similar to normal mode, though in this mode, the transmission will hold gears longer and tighten up the steering feel. Finally, off-road. In this mode, idle is increased to help with crawling, but again, on this surface with a drop of the throttle, the results look the same. We have a lot more testing to do, so let's jump on the freeway and head to the mountains. Floor it! Sounds kind of weird. This, of course, uses a 6-speed automatic transmission, and it has a turbocharged 4-cylinder with a twin-scroll turbo. That does give enough oomph on the freeway for passing, but it's not real exciting. We're on our way up to the mountains to test out the all-wheel drive system on this CX-50. There's a trail mode. We intend to use it. On this multi-lane freeway, it is raining out, but we can go ahead and try the adaptive cruise control. There's 2 buttons here for adaptive cruise control. One has lanes and the other one does not. However, neither of these systems are auto steering. It's really kind of funny. They have the button layout and even the iconography in that they have a steering wheel, but it doesn't actually do lane tracing. It'll do lane detection, which then bumps you back into your lane. It's not very exciting. Let me demonstrate. The road is curving. I'm going to go ahead and take my hands off the wheel. And what is this going to do? It's going to steer us right off the road. Because, yeah. And, you know, at pricing over $40K, you kind of expect that it would have that feature. Of course, the reason to have lane centering isn't for autopilot necessarily. It is so that you can reduce fatigue on long trips. It'll keep you centered and basically take a little bit of the load off of those kind of journeys. Is it necessary? No, but the competition offers it, and I really like it. I've mentioned that before in the past, and I still think it's true today. Now we're going to dip off the freeway and hit the side roads. Mazda's MI drive system allows for 3 different drive modes: sport, normal, and off-road. We'll just keep it in normal first, hit some of these curvy roads, and see how it behaves. Okay, throttle on normal is pretty smooth, it's gradual. Doesn't really punch you with a lot of power. Turn-in is fine, but not exciting. Now let's turn it up to sport. Sport should be more aggressive on the throttle. It tightens up the steering wheel, and it'll also hold gears longer for maximum power. Let's see. Yeah, it just doesn't really feel that fast. It doesn't matter what mode it's in, it just doesn't. I do, of course, have the option to use the paddle shifters to help keep the power right in the power band. Sounds okay, not that exciting. Let's try a 0 to 60. So I'm going to pull up here. This is a mostly level area. And I'm going to go put the MI drive into sport, because why not? Let's preload a little bit because it's a turbo. 3, 2, 1, and go! And 60 in 7.38 seconds. Not fast. Certified not fast. So now I'm going to try an alternate version. I'm going to keep it in sport mode, and I'm going to turn TCS off. I'm also going to preload as much as I can to see if I can get that 0 to 60 to be any quicker. 3, 2, 1, and go. 40 and 60. 7.02 seconds. I think the real thing that helped that was the preloading of the turbo, not necessarily the traction control, because that really didn't do anything. We didn't have any wheel spin. Okay, so 7 seconds, that's pretty good, actually. So it's a little quicker than it feels, because it just doesn't feel fast, which is kind of funny. So if you're looking for a crossover that's comfortable on pavement, is okay to drive. I don't think this is really that exciting. I find the handling to be kind of, it's okay. It's fine. It's good. It's just not exceptional. And with Mazda, a lot of people seem to think, oh, you know, they handle exceptionally. Not so here. It's just fine. Maybe that has to do with the torsion beam in the back, because the CX-5 actually has independent rear suspension. This has a torsion beam, and I feel it. I really do. It just doesn't feel as tossable in the corners. It doesn't feel as frisky as I'm turning. It's a little numb back there, and that's a little disappointing. Now we're going to dip into the forest and see how well this trail system works. Today we are going to have to be very careful because, of course, this is rolling on 20-inch wheels with all-season radials. Not great. But the trails we're going to take today are pretty easy. They are ventured up and down all weekend by hikers, so I don't think we'll have a problem. But it will be interesting to see exactly how this vehicle does in terms of shifting power around, and then also if the 8.6 inches of ground clearance can help us out as well. So the suspension is actually pretty well suited for rough roads like this. Oh, whoa, wow, okay, those are deep potholes. Okay, this is fun. I'm gonna go ahead and switch it into off-road mode and see what that does for the driving dynamics on this slippery forest road section. Oh, so far doing great. It's actually pretty comfortable. I feel like power's going down kind of like I want it. Flip it around the corner here. Yeah, it's tossable on the gravel even. As we continue up into the mountains, the surfaces change quite a lot. I mean, it goes from being a loose gravel to really hard, pokey rocks. And we don't want to hit one of those rocks too hard, especially with these 20-inch wheels, because that'll lead to a puncture, and we don't want that. Now, Mazda has announced that there's going to be a Meridian version of this CX-50 coming. And we'll test that, of course, once it is available. But that'll be more of a Subaru Outback Wilderness-style competitor. It's going to be more designed for things like this. But I just kind of wanted to see how this vehicle did as it currently sits. So far, it's doing fine. I'm actually enjoying it more on the gravel than I did on the pavement. And this is the first challenge. We've done this numerous times with many other crossovers. Most vehicles have no problem with this section. However, it is wet today, which does make it a little bit more challenging. Most recently, I brought the Volkswagen Taos up here, and it actually slipped a little bit on this segment. But this is just the beginning. It gets much harder around the corner. So let's go ahead and proceed. I'm in off-road mode, which should be pretty aggressive in shifting power, not only to the back, but also side to side as necessary. This system does use a clutch pack in the middle, and it will use wheel braking, brake vectoring, to shift power around the system. Basically, because this is an open differential system, if a wheel has no grip, it'll just spin, and all the torque bleeds out of the system. What brake vectoring does is it'll clamp down on that brake and not allow power to bleed out, which then pushes power back into the rest of the system, presumably to the wheels with grip. Now, I have to say good things here because that did really well. There was no slip. Usually a vehicle will slip a little bit there. This one, nothing. So being in off-road mode is really proactive in the way that the system responds, and that it already is pushing power to the back. It doesn't wait for slip to do it. Nicely done, Mazda. Now let's see when the going gets tougher. Okay, here we are. So in terms of setup of the CX-50, there's not a lot to do here. I just need to make sure that the drive mode is in off-road mode, which will be the most aggressive in keeping power to the back wheels, as well as shifting power side to side when necessary. That's basically it. In terms of safety, there is nothing special on this vehicle either. There's no underbody protection beyond some aero plastic pieces. And of course the wheels are 20 inchers. So let's A, try not to break the vehicle. B, let's try not to even scratch the wheels. And C, let's see how well it does. And we're off. As we move forward very slowly here, I'm going to change my gauge cluster to show my crawl speed. There, so I'm at it's at about 2-3 miles per hour, which is okay. So this is where traction is going to be removed off the passenger front and the driver rear. And we're going to see how well it shifts that power around. Now I'm going to stop on purpose right here because I want to stress the system so you can see what it's doing. If I just plow through here, you can't really see what's going on. Little throttle. Now we should see some wheel braking on the outside. It's flashing some lights at me. Oh, it's doing a really good job of pushing that power around. Pretty impressed there, little Mazda. Nicely done. But we're not up yet. One thing I have to really keep in mind is this only has an 18-degree approach angle, which is much better than the CX-5, but not quite as good as more dedicated machines like the Subaru Outback Wilderness. Oops, there we go. There we go. Okay. Haven't dinged a thing on the underside. Power shifted around. I'd say this one passed. Whoop, oh. There we go. Yes. This did so well, I think it's time for trail number 2. So the thing with this one is that it has deeper ruts and they're closer together, which makes it more challenging. We're really going to see a lot more shifting in a much more compact section of the route. And then at the very end, there's a steep climb to get up and over that will really test this 18.4-degree breakover angle. And on we go. So I'm just keeping the vehicle still in off-road mode and then being pretty delicate with the throttle. Now I can see to crawl along here at about 2-3 miles per hour. Some viewers may say, well, you could just charge through there. And yes, you can, but you can also catch a rock, break your oil pan, break a wheel. Lots of bad things can happen. Slower is always safer. Also, again, shows you how the system works. Basically, we're packing in a whole day of off-roading in just a couple runs. So this is having a real hard time. Now, I don't want to intentionally overload the system, so I'm going to back up a little bit, get a little momentum. Oh, that can't, oh, it did it. Nice. Up, and we're stuck again. Okay, there we go. Power is shifting. You can see it on the outside. Okay. Little trail improvements in order. Not a huge rock, but it is sharp. Actually, they're all pretty sharp. Onward and upward. Power shifting around. Haven't hit anything on the underside yet. I want to approach this lip really slowly because I don't want to bump my nose into it. Ooh, it's doing it. Dang, that was so easy. If you compare this against the Volkswagen Taos that we just took up here a week ago, you can see that this system actually was way more effective than the Haldex system in the Taos. Now, I know the Taos is technically a smaller vehicle than the CX-50, but it uses the same all-wheel drive system as the more comparable Tiguan. So that's pretty good. Let's take a moment to see how this CX-50 compares against the competition. On one end of the equation is the Subaru Outback, and on the other, considering Mazda's luxury aspirations, the Lexus NX. The comparable Subaru at this price point would be the Outback Onyx XT. That features 260 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque from a turbocharged Boxer 4. The Onyx has a large digital display, a really nice interior, and tons of cargo space. But not everybody likes the Subaru's CVT, and the central touchscreen can be a bit annoying to use at times. The Mazda also has a classier interior. The Onyx XT we tested in 2021, seen here, has a long list of options and still costs less than $40,000 including delivery, saving thousands over the Mazda. I think when it comes to value, the Subaru is still a better offering. Mazda did say they are shooting for the luxury market here, so we'll also compare the CX-50 Turbo Premium Plus against the Lexus NX, which was newly updated for 2022. The NX starts at $39,025 US. The model we tested earlier this year, shown here, was the NX 350 Turbo All-Wheel Drive Luxury, which was loaded with features and was priced at $53,340. However, if you stick to the base trim, you can still get an NX with all-wheel drive and a turbocharged 275 horsepower engine starting at $42,625 US. Basically the same price as this Mazda. Even though it wasn't its forte, the Lexus did have a trail mode to help it traverse rough terrain, and it did fine. Though this is a close fight, if I wanted a luxury crossover, I would lean towards the Lexus for a number of reasons. Even though the base trim would have a smaller screen, it still has Lexus's new infotainment system, and that does have some rough edges, but it is still light years beyond what Mazda is offering. In terms of driving dynamics, the Lexus is more fun to drive versus the CX-50. But I have to say that kudos to Mazda for even making the CX-50 part of the luxury conversation. The CX-50 may not be the choice yet, but in the top trim, it's at least worthy of consideration. Don't want to just release it and smash things. Oh, that 18-degree breakover. Oop, nose is getting too close. Oh, I could have turned the trail cam on this whole time, but I didn't. It's okay, I know this course really well. But if you wanted to turn on the trail cam, it's a simple button down here. In fact, I can force it on right now and toggle between all these different views, which is really great. There we go. So let's continue on. Ooh, and, oh, how's that? Departure, no grind, okay. So let's see if it has a hill descent control system that's automatic. I'm just gonna release my foot off the brake and we're just gonna roll. Nope, 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 it doesn't. Okay, well, no hill descent control system. That's kind of surprising. Oh well, overall, I think this vehicle is pretty good. It's much more capable than Mazda's older offerings. It looks better too. It doesn't look like an egg. The CX-5 looks like just so much like an egg. I think it's the extra flaring on this one, even the cladding, I think makes this look much better. So if you are looking for a Mazda crossover, this is definitely the one to get. It's not as much fun to drive as the CX-5 on pavement, but it's better in every other way. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share our videos. We make them for you, and I hope you enjoy them.